course, to the Genius Zone here on Edge Radio Australia. Drink in hand, ready to be naughty and ready to be naughty with this lady. Okay, she encourages this kind of behaviour. What can I say? It is
It's all my fault, of course.
It really is. I don't want personal responsibility here. Now I keep glancing over there because I know that we've got a special guest, right? But hang on, like this, you might have to tell me there's something going on. Okay, I'm not really sure what it is.
Okay.
Could you enlighten me?
It could be a bit of a conspiracy, you know. A bit of conspiracy.
I like them.
Well, actually, you know, we're going to be talking on a subject.
Okay. What are we talking
about? Alcohol.
What?
And yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
No.
And how to quit. Oh, did you say he's in the studio?
He's in the studio.
Okay, let's get rid of it.
Quick. Oh.
Done. All right.
Nothing to see here.
Okay.
Please move on. All good. All right, let's bring him in.
Okay.
Now, who is this gentleman I'm about to bring in?
Okay, it is Stephen Hobson. And this guy, this guy is absolutely incredible.
Oh, talk him up already.
On the reprogramming of the of the brain.
You're speaking the English?
So he knows how to reinstall programs.
Right.
Like a software.
Okay.
Only that it is in your brain. Yeah. And so Stephen is an expert through a lot of experience, through extensive studies and through his own crisis, where, you know, he actually discovered that by reprogramming his own brain, he could create the codes to what he needed and wanted, go to sleep with a band on his head and wake up the way he wanted to be the next day.
This is quite an achievement. Okay. Okay. And I believe he's got another claim to fame when it comes to the old alcohol thing. We might have to ask him about that as we go. Shall we bring him on board?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, there we go. Welcome, Stephen. It's great to see you.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Thank you for coming.
Hello. Oh,
welcome to Radio Australia.
Yeah, g'day to everyone. I think I just heard some glasses clink. I'm not sure there. Is that your name?
It's okay.
No, we've got
very
responsible.
Good idea.
Being in Australia, I'm sure it's not just Australia where, you know, we have drinkers.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere in the world at all times.
It is indeed. However, let's face it, Aaron, you know, we do karaoke.
We do?
We do a lot of this stuff. And I have to say that one of the biggest lines I hear is that if I'm going to join you on karaoke, number one, we need to be in another country. And number two, I have to have about 100 cocktails.
Right. 100? Is this an accurate
figure? You know,
Okay.
This is what people say. So people obviously feel that alcohol gives them some kind of courage.
Look, that's so true. And like in Australia and Australian culture, we make light of it. But like, okay, our social identity is too much. It is really too much linked to our alcohol, you know? Well, maybe we're a bit naughty in that regard. I'd be interested to hear Stephen's thoughts about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll fire away with the first question.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Stephen, you have an understanding of how to uninstall old programs. So that means that if someone has an addiction or they have a sabotaging pattern, you know how to uninstall it. And what was your first experience in coming to know that this worked?
On myself, with myself.
You?
Okay. Yeah, I developed the process, if you like, over it's been about 3 years, and so about that long ago, I was convinced. This is it. The science is right. I'd done all the work, done the studying, done everything, and looked at myself and thought, okay, I'm my first. I'm my first. Client, customer, whatever, because I was a great template, and alcohol was the thing for me. And when I look at myself, when I look back on my life, through it all, alcohol had always been there, like for most of us, for goodness sake. You know, as you're saying, you know, you drink. It's a culture. It's accepted. It's promoted. It's packaged beautifully. It's just, you know, there. But I think for a lot of us, and particularly for myself anyway, I mean, I drank since I was, 17 or earlier. And as I hit stresses in my life, Terry, as I hit the walls, and I hit a couple, the drinking got worse, got more. Never any problem, never any outside causing any drama, not what you'd sort of label as a dribbling alcoholic, whatever that means. But at home, sure, a wine, two, a bottle of easy every night. So you'd wake up, with that foggy side, kind of thing, and really you're about, you're at 50%. Of yourself,
50%. What do you mean by 50%? Like 50% of your brain capacity, or 50% of what exactly?
Not necessarily brain capacity, just energy, just 50%. And that really reflects on everything: your brain capacity, your nervous system, your ability to, and we're all out there punching hard, aren't we? Doing our best, in all aspects of life. But just coming back to your question, I looked at, okay, I'll do it myself. So I wrote myself a program, and I create the program. It's an audio file. I do it on Audacity. I've got this particular code. But I created the file. It runs for, I run it for about 150 minutes, right?
Okay.
And just to touch on how it works, I use the theta brainwave frequency state, and we all enter that when you go to sleep. You're about 90 minutes. Your brainwave moves into theta, what's called theta. Now, it's in that particular frequency that the door is wide open, straight into your subconscious. And just to touch on this, until we're 7-ish, as kids, all of us, everyone with a heartbeat, as children, you're in theta all the time, full time. And that's how come we absorb everything as kids, your mum and dad, your friends, blah, 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 blah. And that's where you take on most, actually, of your life's subconscious programs. How to walk, how to talk, how to do everything.
This is where you're learning, right?
Absolutely. And these programs stick with you, because once a program's in your subconscious, it's hardwired. It's there for good unless you uninstall it. Going back to what you were first talking about. So
you're saying that theta is the rhythm of the brain where we learn and where we're anchored into, our patterns and what we do and everything as such. And if you can get to talk to your mind or talk to your brain, say like an affirmation. I'm going to talk in layman's terms. Sure. Let's just say, I want to feel incredible tomorrow morning. Say I've had pain in my back, pain in the body, and you feel yourself waking up. Is that the reason why they say that affirmations first thing in the morning? Is that a theta state that we're in when we're first waking up?
Not necessarily, no. It could be, in and out. I mean, who's to say exactly? But no. But I do know this exactly. When you fall asleep, there's the window, there's the door open, and that's a communication. That's one communication pathway directly into the subconscious mind. So just going back a sec. When I got this process, so I strapped myself in, put my headband on, pressed play, went to sleep. And the reason we're talking is I haven't had a drink since. But the real reason I'm here doing this is because there was no effort. There was no willpower at all. But at all. Aaron, it's that, it's that profound. It's not like counting the days, white knuckling it, dry July, any of that stuff, which I've done. I've had 1,000 of those, right? But this was bang, and the reason for that is the program, looking at it from a scientific point of view or physics point of view, the program was uninstalled, removed. So the relationships not there. And I know we're talking about alcohol, but this applies to everything.
Yes.
In your life.
Yeah.
Oh, there's relationships I'd like to uninstall in my life as well. I get
that. Okay, we can talk about that if you like.
To create a new template for you.
Maybe.
And you'll be absolutely rocking and rolling.
There we go.
So he already rocks and rolls, so it's all good. So it really sounds like you're saying that, our foundational years between 0 and 7, that's where we are like sponges. So that's what you more or less said, that we tend to take in all those beliefs. That's where we get our value systems from. And I guess that's got a lot to do with neuroplasticity. But you also talk a lot about frequency. So how does neuroplasticity and frequency and I guess theta, if you will, play a part together in amplifying and helping a person to make that change?
Ooh, in amplifying a person to make that change, it's moving off, if you like, alcohol for a second. It depends what you're looking to change in your life. I mean, what works for me and what's worked for me and what I'm talking about is if you're trying to improve some area of your life, whatever that may be, and you want to make change, and the doors are slamming on you, right? You're out there, but it's hard, bang, again. And we all do our best. You throw the kitchen sink at it sometimes, but the doors slam. If that's happening, whatever the change is that you're trying to make, put your handbrake on, put your shovel down. You need to look at your subconscious programming. First step, 1, because no matter what conscious effort you're trying to, you just spend longer in the ring, because it's the ant versus the elephant. See, if you're trying to go north, and I've said this before, but if you're in life and you've got a subconscious program that's going south, you're going south eventually.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right? Because as a processor, you see, the subconscious mind processes 40 million bits of information a second.
Wow.
Your conscious mind processes 40. Yours might process a bit more, Aaron, but most of us, it's 40.
Yeah, it's a little ADHD, I'm going to say. There's a few open on the computer. It's an interesting thing, and I'm going to throw a little sideways thing on this, right? As far as you said about the programming of removing the program, okay? I think that there's so much to be said about that. We've had a couple of conversations before about peer pressure and stuff, and so I grew up and I've never been a smoker, all right? Okay, I smoked one in my entire life, right? Okay, and just it never appealed to me. Now my parents, they did a very smart thing. They said, hey, to all 3 of the kids, if you get to 17 and you're not a smoker, we'll give you $1,000 towards your first car.
Wow.
Right? Now, for me,
That's a good bribe.
it was a great bribe, right?
Yeah.
Good incentive, because they were both smokers, smoking in the house, all that kind of thing. Not great. Well, they were a great advertisement for cigarettes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is like, okay, the program of wanting to smoke, and I was very lucky because, quite frankly, I just didn't feel the need. I didn't have the peer pressure. All my friends were smoking, but I just didn't feel the need to, right? And my desire for that money for my car was far, far bigger. So what I'm kind of getting at is I never had the program to want it in the first place.
Yes.
Therefore, there's no giving up. There was no loss. There was no willpower, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It was just never a desire that was there. So if you've got something and you've actually removed that program, you've removed that desire, I get that, you know?
Yeah, but you were anchored also. So you were anchored into the whole concept of, well, I'm going to get $1,000 towards my first car.
That's right.
My go-go
That's
mobility.
it. That's right.
You're anchored into that. And, where a lot of teenagers, a lot of young people will go, oh, well, why not cave into a bit of peer pressure?
That's right.
And that's how it all starts. But so what's your take on uninstalling? What do you believe about that? Because I know that I asked you on the podcast, can we be a person who is disciplined enough to say, well, I'm only going to have 1 or 2 drinks a day. And your comeback on that was, well, can you be a little bit pregnant? And I guess the answer is no. So you're saying it's black or white. You either decide that you're going to quit, and especially if it's for a good reason, or you don't. Is that right?
Well, from a subconscious standpoint, it's you can't be a little bit pregnant. With the subconscious mind, it's either yes or no, black or white. Right. You either drink or you don't. Consciously, Terry, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that, goodness me, they have 1 drink or 2 drinks. They don't have an issue with it at all. I'm not advocating that, but as long as it's not causing you any damage in your life. And by the term damage, I don't mean falling over, breaking your leg. I just mean from an energetic point of view. If you're trying to improve your life, for yourself or your family or whatever, and you're finding, that you're drinking most nights, whatever that may be, not necessarily getting plastered, but just having, a bit much, and you wake up and you're a bit foggy, and you get used to that. You do. You just, it becomes part of you, and it's in your pocket all the time. And it becomes your friend, because it's how you cope a lot of times. I've digressed a bit, but just going back a sec, just smoking there, Aaron. The other communication pathway into the subconscious, besides the theta that we've spoken about, is repetition. And we all know this because of driving a car, riding a bike, learning a language, a musical instrument, blah, blah, right? Now, most of the time, alcohol, like cigarettes, the subconscious program for that is formed and installed through repetition.
Right.
Now, because really speaking, we all start to drink at some stage in our life for whatever reason, but most of the time it's to feel better. So either to drink with your mates, or to drink with your, or to be, if you're a bit shy, you might want to be the life of the party, or later on you might be sad or angry, and emotionally you drink to make you feel better. Now, you then end up going back for more, because it does feel good, doesn't it? For a couple of, for a bit, it's happy time.
Oh, I love a tickle.
Absolutely. But if it goes past a tickle, and consecutively goes past a tickle, then that's when you should, in my opinion, you should look at yourself and go, well, how would my life be if I could remove that without stress? And that's the big thing it's all about here, because we can't stop drinking alcohol consciously. You can do your best. You can white knuckle it. You can count the days, sure. But you can't fight the subconscious. If you've got a program in there that's, as I said earlier, going south or opposed to what you want to try and do. And as we go back for more with alcohol, get back to the bar, your shout, no worries, get back as kids or later on, and you keep going back, that forms the subconscious program, which means, in so many words, I'm happy as life's great when I drink. So, and as a subconscious standpoint, you drink because it's good times, right? Mm-hmm. If you can understand what I'm saying there. And you've got 2 programs. For every program, there's 2. There's a primary and there's an anchor. And the anchor is really the big one you've got to get, because let's say you've got a primary program. Most of us have this. Life's great when I drink alcohol. Happy days. I'm popular. Yeah. Or something
for a lot
like
of people, life is not great when they're drinking alcohol. There's a lot of people out there in that situation. Just throw this in. I deal a lot with people who have gone through some great grief in their lives, right? And I find a lot of people have been through that situation, and I fell into this myself, so quite happy to put the hand in the air, where I started self-medicating, right, with alcohol, okay? And it's a negative spiral, right? And it's a very hard thing, and you're talking about like getting out of that. Well, if you cold turkey, it is very difficult, especially if it has become habit. Some people can get out of that, some people can't. And maybe I'm suggesting this only because I'm not the expert, but kind of asking you on this one. Maybe your technique is very, very good for people who can't get out of that habit. They've been using that as a crutch for such a long time.
Yeah,
Perhaps your methods might be very beneficial for them.
absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
100%.
it's certainly worked for me 100%. This works for everyone that does that. It's working for everyone exactly the same way, Aaron, when they do go through this process. And you really just feel like you've never been a drinker at all. Okay, there's no for or against with it. I don't drive past a pub and go, oh, gee, at all. But I actually don't look at it and go, there's no emotion because the program has been removed.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's the part
It's
that's going to
bizarre.
interest. Yeah, it is bizarre. And that is definitely the part that's going to interest not only a lot of people, but a lot of coaches who are obviously studying hypnotherapy and the subconscious because, obviously, that little element that you were talking about, you know, creating your own video, your own recording on Audacity and then playing it at night and then waking up the following day. Can I
Yeah.
ask, are you going through a traditional hypnotic trance to do that, or are you straight in and you're just listening to it?
You're snoring your head off.
Perfect.
Yep.
Oh,
You're
So
snoring
you
your head off. You listen to it obviously a little bit. It took me I put some music with it. It sort of I had trouble going to sleep at the sound of my own voice. My wife doesn't. No problem. She'll fall asleep listening to me all the time. But
what
I put a
happens
bit
if
of music with it.
it puts her to sleep? Right, gotcha.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Look,
No, you
I
just
don't sleep.
it's just as simple as it's simple and as complex as that. You write
Yeah.
the program. Just stepping back a second, then you mentioned hypnotherapy. When I was doing my studies, learning of under some great minds in the world, and I looked around at everything. I'm obsessed about it. That's when I saw the gap. That's when I thought, gosh, there's no uninstall. There's no process for getting rid of the virus out of the computer, right? And we're computers. The subconscious is your hard drive. Your
Yep.
belief are your programs, your software. So if you've got a program, you've got a software in your Windows on your computer, there's some problem. What do? You get rid of it. You've got to uninstall it. Correct? Right. We're exactly the same. So mechanistically, if you've got a program that's causing, something that you'd rather not be happening, that program needs to be uninstalled. And I looked hard and fast at this and thought, gosh, there's all good horses for courses, it's hypnotherapy and the other methodologies that are available. What I noticed is they just keep putting in new programs. In other words, install.
Yep.
And if it's like you can't put new, if you're putting new software on a corrupted hard drive, you've got a problem. So that was my rationale, if you like. So that's what I lent into that and thought, okay. So I thought, well, if you can talk to the subconscious, if you can interact with the subconscious, if you can communicate with the subconscious, you can tell it to uninstall the program, can't you?
Yeah, well, that's very true. And it's
And so
it's
that's what we
amazing
do.
how many, yeah, it's amazing how many of us study and we may go to school and learn the art of all these modalities and everything else, but we also come across being able to tweak things ourselves. So what you just said about, you know, traditionally as a hypnotherapist, we're installing. So we're saying, okay, this is what we're going to create for you. We're going to create you to have a great body, great mindset, and trim, slim, and healthy, and eat like a person that is the ideal size that you want to be and walk like that person and talk like that person. But you're quite right as far as uninstalling. But this is where, I think you've just solved a bit of a riddle for me personally, because people always say, well, what do you prefer, NLP or hypnosis? Because, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, it's kind of same, but different. And one of the things that I love about NLP is that you do uninstall, but we don't use that word. So we go back on our timeline. You've heard
many times.
Bang on about this, where we will go back to that time. So, like what you're talking about, well, I didn't do it with alcohol, but I dealt with a lot of people that had weight problems or addictions in other areas. So we would literally take them back through a timeline therapy and get them to see where it all began. So there was something that
there's a trigger point. Yeah.
There's a trigger point. Yeah. And you said something interesting in the podcast, which also kind of just brought some conscious competency to me. And that is that, while we know that's what we're doing with the NLP timelining, we're looking, we're learning, and then once we learn, we can kind of release it. And then we do all these kind of fancy things in the mind's eye, like, getting it and pulling it out like it's a weed, or, dispersing it. And
I'm a lousy gardener. The weeds.
You'd have to do a burnout or something. You'd have to use a car. But, so that's the sort of thing that we do. But I can understand that's why I do like NLP and putting those two things together. And in terms of frequency, you talk a lot, because you do a lot of study on Bruce Lipton. Don't know whether you've heard of Bruce Lipton, but
from you,
yeah, amazing. Can you talk us through frequency? And I know we've got a question that we'll go over to in a moment, but just to kind of prepare our audience, what is so imperative about our frequency, Stephen?
Oh, that's a great question. And I'll preface what I'm going to say by, this is my opinion.
Okay.
All we have is opinions. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, that's good too.
It's safe.
Frequency is such a wide word, isn't it? I believe that we all have a unique core vibrational frequency. I call it our set point.
Okay.
As beings. I'm not talking about as human beings. And for me, the primary thing in life is who am I? To find out who I am, or what I am. And the second is how you function, how it all works, right? And the third is why. So they're my three big questions: is who am I? How does it operate? How do I operate? And why? But coming back to frequency, bear with me. We've got a core vibrational frequency. That core vibrational frequency is our set point that allows us ability and capability to perceive our own energy in different vibrational frequency life forms. Whether that's here on Earth, in various dimensions or galaxies. And this is a game, right?
Really?
Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? Right? And in any game, it can get a bit serious. Yep. I played rugby union, it can get serious. Now, but it's a game. Now, in any game, you play
the game
to
of
win,
life,
yeah?
how to play it.
Yeah, you play it to win, don't you? So what are you going to do to win? What are you going to do? You've got to know who you are. You've got to know your position on the field. You've got the number on your shirt. You've got to know what you're doing. You've got to be present, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're playing sport, like our elite athletes, you got to be there, and you've got to know the rules. You've got to know how it works, what's happened, how it operates, right? So here we are in the game of life. Who are you? what's your number, what's going on, your presence, ask Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, your presence in the moment, and how does it all happen? How's it mechanistically? How do you function? How do you drive? Right? Now, the subconscious, why I love the subconscious programming, it's how we function mechanistically. You learn how to drive your experience in life, because everything is pulled through your programs, it's code, and filters into this experience, this computer, this body. It's your energy filtered through programs that you're able to perceive in different levels of frequency and have a life experience. So
you mean to say, like, we are human, beings, or we're spiritual beings, because you said we were beings before, right? You said we're beings, not human beings. And yes, I'm wondering, did you mean that we are spiritual beings having a human experience? Because that's where it gets finite,
Absolutely.
Infinite, infinite intelligence, and the infinite intelligence, being the nervous system, what's laid down at birth. I know how to rattle this off, don't I? Because, this is what Ian always talked about. But, the nervous system and anything that comes subconsciously, even though it's a bad thing, this is really interesting, right? But it'll be a bad thing when it comes to an addiction or a bad pattern. Like if you've got a bad pattern of continuously having sabotaging relationships, say, for example, or it's alcohol.
She looked at me.
No.
I felt the eyes. Yeah.
I know you are definitely going to be healed from this, right?
I'm joking.
But absolutely. But the fact is, right, if you are learning how to ice skate, dance, or do something that involves that flow, the last thing you want is consciousness happening where it's not installed, because it's the unconscious part of us where we flow. And what just triggered me to say that, Stephen, is that you mentioned about driving. And, I can remember my father taught me to drive when I was 17, and it just seemed like, okay, foot on the clutch, hand on the steering wheel, now change gears, now indicate. It's like, oh my gosh, holers bowlers. If something happens or a car pulls out, what do you do heck am I going to do, right? And you're overwhelmed. If you go back to that first instance when you are learning to do something, it's clunky and chunky.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then all of a sudden, I can drive home, except for in torrential rain like last night. I can drive home and think, well, I couldn't even remember how I drove home. I just did, because it was, I guess, subconscious. So I guess when you say uninstalling the negative programs, are you actually then, as well as uninstalling, so say you go to bed and you've created this recording for yourself that uninstalls that alcohol desire and, not wanting to pick up another drink and being completely free without willpower. But are you then reinstalling as well? Like, are you having to replace it with something else? That's a curious question as a hypnotherapist, because we always learnt that whatever you take out, something else has got to go in.
All right.
So over to you, Stephen.
Sure, absolutely. Another good question. Whatever, we're talking about alcohol, but it could be about anything, your money, your health, your relationships. Once you find, because the identifying the program's vital, and you've got to find two. You've got to find a primary and the underlying anchor, which is usually just the inversion. But after you uninstall it, yes, you install the way you want to go. You install what you want. If you make your mantras your programs, then watch the magic happen. Right?
Okay.
So if your mantra, but consciously, I used to, recite mantras till I was blue in the face. It doesn't work. Or it did work for me, say, right? So, because I had a subconscious program going that way.
Yeah.
So once you uninstall whatever it is you want to change, You find a program, whatever it is, you uninstall it, you then install, that's the way you want to go. Of course, then you've got to pick your shovel up and get back to work, right? But what you find is when you're taking action in that direction that you want to go, when you've got your subconscious program supporting you, different ball game. The doors will open up.
Now, I just want to actually, Darren said this a long time ago in the show. Just want to say hi to David. David, I'm completely losing it. Try Darren. Hi, Darren, all the way in Las Vegas.
Hey, Dazza.
It's always just nice when you see people from a long way. G'day, Dazza. And away we go. It is fantastic. We're very lucky. I mean, obviously, we're all around the world, and it's just nice to haven't seen someone from Vegas for a while, so it's nice to see that. How about we jump into these questions, though, because we've got now Jason. He's all the way in Melbourne, okay, and he has tried quitting alcohol a few times. But he finds that when 5 p.m. comes along, he's looking for a drink. How can I change that?
Ooh, yeah. So what would be the first step, Stephen, you would suggest? I mean, obviously you talked about the identifying and then the uninstalling. Perhaps you can enlarge on that for us.
Sure. Jason, if Jason looks back in his life just to when he first started drinking, whatever that age was, whoever it was with, and he recognizes the fact that he went back for more and went back for more. But what he needs to do, or what we need to do, is just focus on how it made you feel emotionally at that time. And in so many words, it made me feel better. It made me feel more life, as I said earlier, life's great. So Jason, what's happening, mate, is in so many words, you're running programs in your subconscious in relationship to alcohol. And those programs are saying this: when I drink alcohol, I'm happy, life's great, I'm popular, or along those lines. The anchor that I mentioned before, or the other program underneath it, it supports it, it validates it. That program says, if I don't drink alcohol, life is crap. In so many words. If I don't drink alcohol, I'm a loser. If I don't drink alcohol, right? So if you've got, so these programs, you've got one as a primary. I drink because life's great when I drink, etc. The anchor, that's the one that keeps you back at the bar. So when at 4 o'clock, Jason, that program is saying, if I don't drink alcohol, life's no good, or I've got no friends, or I'm not.
What is it? Yeah. What is it that you're telling yourself? I love that. I mean, did you read that book by Alan Carr? Did you read the Alan Carr book? He's famous for, helping people quit smoking. Right. I know it's a different topic here, but it's still same. Yeah. And he talks about, you're describing it with a lot more from the scientific point of view. He sort of says it in layman's terms, in terms of what's so good about it and what's going to happen if you don't do it. Right. Because you're kind of telling yourself two stories. And something you did say to me, Stephen, in our podcast is, which I learnt a lot from you actually, was that we get triggered. So, I often know that why is it that people get triggered and they hold this stuff in their body, and yet if they're feeling great, they're not triggered. But you said something really interesting, and that is that you had a bout of cancer and you were obviously going through that stage of life where, it's almost you're staring death in the face sort of thing. And then all of a sudden during that time, you then set up your anchor. But what I learned from you, Stephen, is that it was during the time of the negative, while you were being triggered, that you came in with the big punch and actually said, right, this is how it's going to be. Right. Do you want to actually talk that through? Because that might help Jason as well.
Yeah, I was very lucky. Insofar as in that time frame of going through the cancer experience, fortunately, I knew a fair bit about, would you believe, health, and I learned a lot more about health on the run through, particularly alkalinity and hydration, those elements. But one thing that happened, I was walking around Office Works, and my phone rang, and because I ended up having an operation, and it was by a brilliant surgeon. But I got a call, and I said, "Well, Mr. Hobson, your operation's on the 12th of January. That's my birthday." I went, "Yes, yes." And people looked at me in R5, yes. And I knew then, I just knew, I thought, that's it, I'm right. Because having said that, going back a touch, I had it both sides of my neck, and I got rid of it, actually, naturally. But then it came back and flared up, and one went bang. I didn't have any choice. The doctor said, "You've got 6 to 12 months." So I went, I'll have it out. But I didn't. I said no to chemotherapy and radiotherapy, as a matter of fact, which is just a whole other story on its own. That was quite interesting. But yeah, so just coming back to that, with subconscious programming, there's 3 communication pathways. So it's a theta brainwave frequency, which we use in my process. There's repetition, and there's intense emotion, which is usually traumatic.
Yeah.
And that can be, if something horrifying happens to you, or something great happens to you, then in that intense emotion, that can form a program in your mind, in your subconscious. Okay. And that did happen to me during that cancer experience.
So you're suggesting that if someone's in really bad pain, let's just say they're in agony, that's a good time to set up an anchor?
Oh, look, that's extremely difficult question to answer that, and it would depend upon the person's personal circumstances whether that would take effect or not. That's probably why it was not probably. That's why I use theta, because it's accurate. I know it's there. The window's open. I'm in. The intensity of emotions that form subconscious programming in us. Some of us could do. Some of us, it's hit and miss. Okay. Really, your repetition isn't. That just takes a long time or longer. But theta is straight in.
Yep. Cool.
That's the difference. Right. And on that point, by the way, there's no other times. This is interesting. I think there's no other times that you can communicate with your subconscious. So if you're wandering around during the day, with the greatest respect, with headphones on, listening to some whatever it is, you're knocking on the wrong door, mate. You forget about it. You're not in.
No, unless you're listening to Edge Radio Australia with those headphones. Clearly,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
enough time for another question.
Yeah, let's jump in. A question this is from Rebecca, all the way in Canada. Beautiful Canada. Okay, I'm high functioning, and no one would even guess that I drink every night. I don't drink to get drunk. I do so as my little treat. What can I do to replace the alcohol with something?
It's a bit like what we were talking about before. Do you replace it?
Yeah.
So
one thing out, one thing.
Yeah. So what would you suggest for someone who doesn't know the work you do?
Sure. Well, Rebecca, it's me too. I was, if you like, high functioning. There's a lot of me's out there. There's a lot of Rebeccas out there. There's a lot of people high functioning that have these drinks, and as a treat, it's your friend. It's how you cope after a hard day or a good day. That's what you do. It's just what you do. So you don't actually replace it with anything. You make a decision whether or not you would like to live your life at 100% of you, energy-wise, really. And if you could do that, the problem is that we all just decide that from time to time and consciously have a dry July, but it's exhausting. So you don't. Exactly. You're drinking and forget about it. But what I'm talking about is you can stop without stress, without trying, effortlessly, literally. And what happens is you don't miss it, Rebecca. You won't miss your little treat. You'll just have 100% of yourself. And you don't, when you haven't got a program that's opposing, you don't miss it. It's like saying, do you miss smoking to a non-smoker, or do you miss, whatever it is? If you completely haven't got a program for it, like you were saying earlier, Aaron, you don't miss anything. So it's a little bit difficult to understand that, because I get it. I was there. You think, oh gosh, what am I going to do if I don't drink, or something along those lines? How am I going to enjoy myself? How am I going to, but what you do is you get 100% of yourself back, because all the alcohol's doing is masking the situation for you.
I like that. I like that, because that's a really brilliant way for even someone like myself to be thinking, because I'm high functional. We'll have a couple of drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. We joke about it, but we do it. Let's face it.
We do it. Yeah. And I really enjoy it. And then I've even said to myself, because I've thought about, should I see Stephen? And then I've gone, but I enjoy it. Like, do I want to?
Do I want to?
Well,
yeah. Look, I mean, it's...
And then, but then what you just said, it kind of is a bit more inspirational from where I'm sitting, because he just says, well, you're going to get back 100% of yourself. Well, I never thought of that.
But can the world cope, brother, with 100% of this one? Back. I'm just saying, come on.
Oh boy, what can I say to that?
Well, I'm going to go to and I think that's thank you so much. I'm going to go. We're very, very late, so we'll have to sort of skip through. Yes. But I do not want to skip through on Daniel from Brisbane, who has actually put a question through as well, because this kind of goes in line with what we've just been talking about the lack of having to replace this, because this is about vibration, okay, and people's energy. So I'm going to pop that up there. So Daniel says, all the way from Brizzy there, Bris Vegas. How do you identify if your vibration is high, low, or medium? And what practical steps can I take to raise it, especially when you're deep into bad habits? Oh, sorry, I put bad habits. He's put old habits. I just
bad habits. Can't help myself.
I stuck my own word in there. There we go.
Yeah.
What about that? How do you feel?
What do you reckon, Stephen?
Well, in my opinion, the easiest and simplest way to raise your vibration is to follow your passion.
Yeah.
Right. And mind you, if your passion is to have, a couple of bottles of wine, perhaps think about it, but follow your passion in life.
Yeah.
And, that will help you. Now, as far as your habits are concerned, your deep old habits, if they're concerning you realistically, whatever they may be, whether it's alcohol or something else, and consciously, realistically, you'd be better off without doing it or taking it or whatever it might be. That repetitive habit is a subconscious program perpetuating itself, validating itself, and keeping you in that experience of that pattern. Pattern.
Yeah.
But your vibration, it's such an interesting one. I mean, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling upset with yourself at some degree, all you need to do is explore why. Why are you? Why do you think you're feeling? Why do you feel? Why are you putting yourself down? Why are you feeling, and you'll get answers all the time. You'll know, and already probably. You go, yeah, it's because I'm doing that, or I'm not doing that, or that's not working for me. I haven't got enough of this. Whatever it is, if those doors are shutting on you, if you're finding it bloody hard, it's because you've got a subconscious program that's opposing what you want. So the way to raise your vibration, follow your passion, and find your unwanted programs.
Oh, love that. Yep. Oh, so good.
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you this.
That's the genius zone.
It is like just downloading a new version of Windows, right? Okay. Mind you, that gives me headaches. Pretty well. That in itself. But there's so much truth in what you've said. And I think that if you can, Yeah, I mean, I've always thought about the way you've explained about going back to just before that happened, and this
Yeah.
is very much like this. It's a very similar concept of going, okay, just removing that. It's we don't have to put a patch on it. Don't put a band-aid on it. How
Yeah.
about we just remove the injury, so to speak?
Exactly. Yeah.
Take it away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like
it's
it's
a great
never
thing.
been there.
Yeah.
Because also too, if you think about it, if you've got a vendetta against someone, usually, or even if you feel, like when you feel that thing towards someone, and then if you see them, you kind of can feel the energy, like that energy is going to be there.
Oh, right.
But the fact is, if you can uninstall that, then it's not there. Then it kind of disappears. And I've seen this happen before, but magic does happen. So I love what you've said, Stephen, and I cannot agree with you more, especially on find your purpose to raise your vibration, because, the Genius Zone is all about your soul purpose and really finding that, but also a bit from your story, going from your pain to power, which is what this, what this particular sequence is all about. So thank you so much, Stephen, for your time yet again,
Really
and
appreciate it.
sharing so many gold nuggets with us.
Gold nuggets. She uses the big technical terms all the time. I'll tell you right now. Hey, I'm very appreciative of everything you've had to say. Now, if people want to get hold of you, how do we do that?
Through my website. It's you can hop on there, and if people want to talk to me, or by all means, I've got a program running for alcohol at this time. It's a 7-day program specific for alcohol. But as we've talked about, as I said, this sort of engages every aspect of life. So if people have got some issue they want to talk to me about in that context, I'm always available. Get through my website again. There's email there, or you can book a call.
And you'll find it in the show notes as well.
You beat me to it. Look at that. Thank you very much for everyone involved. Thank you. By the way, there's lots of comments that have come through on the other feeds, which we couldn't see. So I look forward to having a bit of squeeze during the week at people's comments and questions through there. And obviously we can catch up with those at a later time. Thank you very much for being part of the Genius Zone here at Edge Radio Australia.